1, 2, 3, pick it up, go!
Mankind must put an end to war. A war will put an end to mankind.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, I'm not drunk. I learned everything I got.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person.
Hello, Internet. Welcome, Internet. This is Blind Partisan. This is Elliot, and I am here, as usual, with Jacob.
With Jacob.
You're Jacob, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I had a long night, and you're Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I know we met not 5 minutes ago, but
yeah. So today we decided we were going to talk about the Electoral College, and
I'm sure other alternative voting methods will somehow bleed into.
Well, I mean, whatever. It's almost an unlimited topic, right? Because there's so much depth to it. There's, there's different ways of handling voting. Like ours is unique across the world.
In a lot of ways, but not only that, we have a lot of asterisks in our voting systems.
Yeah.
It goes by this, except for states where it doesn't. Except for this state, which is this way. Some states give all their electoral votes to one person, where some go to split amongst candidates based off of percentage versus blah 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 blah.
Right. So this has kind of gotten into the national spotlight recently. Because let's see, I don't even know this guy. This is one of the 30 Democrats running for president, Pete Buttigieg.
I don't know who that is. Can we talk about that for a moment?
Yeah.
We really have not been able to recently have an episode and discuss the Democrats running
Because I think it would take a full half hour to list them all.
Yeah.
Which is I just got done with Joe Moore ranting about like why the hell do we even need primaries? And I believe that, but it's also a little bit crazy for president, for all these people to actually think they have a reason to run.
And then you have to play the game of how many of these people are serious candidates and how many of them are just throwing their name in to get their name spread around for some ulterior motive.
Right. And maybe that's fine. I mean, maybe that's just the way that politics is. And maybe
but there are so many of them, and I guarantee we're not done.
No. I mean, I think we're at the point where usually this is when most serious candidates start announcing.
Right.
I
mean, some of them held off. Joe Biden's doing his "Am I running? Am I not running?"
So
by the time this goes out, he's probably officially really announced.
Right? Is Hillary Clinton for sure not?
For sure not.
She said for sure not. Yeah.
Oh.
And Joe Biden has not said yes.
He has not really said yes, but he's said yes, but not in those words. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's done everything but officially announced.
Are there any other front runner people that have not committed yet? There's so many names thrown about that I just say
Oprah
becomes a bull.
Oprah.
Oh, Oprah's busy with her TV shows with Apple now, so I don't think she's actually.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, the Electoral College, Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke agreed with her. Like they're like, we need to get rid of the Electoral College, or we're going to be doomed to have Trump for 50,000 years.
Well, I don't think Trump matters for it. I don't think the Electoral College will play that much of a role in this particular election, I think mostly we should not be looking at it for that reason. I think he's nodding his head. He's approving of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, so I think if you are, if you want to make policy as a reaction to a recent election, I think that is problematic.
Well, kind of. But like if something goes really wrong in an election, I think it's fair to say, hey, we should fix this for the future. But if you're specifically saying we need to change the system so this guy doesn't win, that's right.
But it didn't go really, really wrong. I mean, like I didn't vote for Trump. You didn't vote for Trump. We don't like Trump. But it didn't go really wrong. He's the guy people voted for.
Well,
Yeah, and a lot of people voted for Hillary, and I understand the difference between the popular and the electoral college vote.
well, that's what we're here to discuss, right?
Yep. But like, it didn't go really, really wrong. Like, they were the two front runners. They're both terrible candidates. They played the game the way it was intended to be played, and we have what we have, right?
But I don't have a problem with changing the rules for the next game if you're not happy with the rules as they exist.
So, what would be the point of changing the rules?
I think.
Okay, let's backtrack slightly.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
most of
okay.
the people that are listening and watching what we're talking about understand at least vaguely what the Electoral College is. You want to
Yes.
give your 20
Electoral
seconds?
college are people. When you're voting for president, you're not actually voting for president. You're voting for people to vote for president for you.
On a state-by-state basis.
Yes. And some states require them to vote for the person that wins. Some states have absolutely no actual requirement for that.
Some have a proportional,
Yes, some have a proportional. And
all sorts of crazy rules going on. And now some states, I think Maryland, maybe not. Colorado was one. Am I getting Maryland wrong?
I don't know.
But there's a couple states that are it's being like voted on now. Like, they're passing a law that, and this all kind of factors in here, that their electoral votes will go to the winner of the popular vote.
I think it was Vermont.
There might be several.
Yeah.
I know for sure Colorado was one. I'm pretty sure Maryland was one. Vermont might have been one. So, but there's several now. And so it's interesting because like tweaking things around the edges can be problematic too. So it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy where sort of like healthcare, like if you mess with the rules along the edges, all of a sudden it seems like the problem was with the thing to begin with, and the problem is with the little band-aids, right? So what do you feel is wrong with the Electoral College, and why should we change?
So the argument against the Electoral College is that it's actually undemocratic for a country that says it's about freedom, right? And, freedom of choice and democracy. It's a place where your vote could ultimately not matter, which is fine if you chose the wrong candidate, and your candidate didn't win. But the argument here is that on a big federal election like this, we shouldn't go with 200 plus old rules that were designed to allow the bigwigs of the party elite and the government elite to choose the candidates, because the poor farmers wouldn't understand what they were voting for.
It's actually exactly the same way that we vote for Congress.
Should we be doing that?
It's how every other country does it. Most countries have a prime minister. And
they do it totally different.
And so they vote for their representatives, and then within their representative body, like in the UK or in Canada, they vote for their executive head out of that.
That's like us doing that, but we don't know who we're voting for.
It's like us doing that, but we don't know who we're voting for.
Who are the people you're voting for the Electoral College? Can you name them?
I mean, that's fair. That is a fair criticism of it. So out of all the criticisms that I've heard, the actual electors, the people doing the actual ballot dropping, that's pretty messed up. The fact that they like get together and have like cigars and drinks, and
that's exactly what
there's like some weird rituals. That is pretty messed up.
And it's all bigwig party elites.
Yeah. So like,
and they drink a bunch of wine and brandy and stuff. And
so I want
to say it was 2004. There was one guy who got so drunk he voted, I want to say, for John Kerry's vice president instead, and spelled his name wrong.
Yeah. So which is funny because we just had Joe Moore on, and I got to be careful how I say that. We had Joe Moore on the program. Unfortunate choice of way of saying that. I feel bad for words sometimes. But if you have a write-in candidate, which is what that ultimately is, those are all write-ins. Mm-hmm. You have to be careful how you spell things, and then what are the rules of how that counts?
I think what has to happen, I think the official rule should be if you put the name into Google and it autocorrects it to the right name, it passes.
Well, what about so okay, that's fine for president, but what about in a Green Bay election? If I type in, I said, what if I put in Joseph Methuselah Moore?
I was joking,
right?
but
no, I know, but I mean, so there. I mean, you run into these things with, like, when you talk to Siri or Alexa, like, what is reasonable, and all these things come into question. And I don't know what's reasonable. And if you expect people to be perfect, that's also not reasonable. So, I don't know. But the whole fact that we're electing people to vote on our behalf, but we don't know who these people are, that is kind of messed up.
Yeah.
That part of it, I think we could change.
I think the other thing,
or should at least be disclosed.
Yes. I think the other big thing with that is it would change the fundamental dynamic with states. If everything was just popular vote based for the presidential election, you wouldn't have, all the candidates pumping all their money into swing states like Florida and Pennsylvania in the U.S.
And Green Bay.
And Green Bay. Yep. Wisconsin.
But primarily Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
like, Green Bay is like, there are like micro, like, you can see it. They zoom in on the maps and you can see the county by county breakdowns of these places. And like Brown County is one of those areas. Like, we are a 50-50 county in a 50-50 state.
We're
ground zero.
Yeah.
That's why I love talking to you. I love our show that we do. I love our community. And I hate the fact that we have two mayoral candidates that are on the ballot that are with the two major parties. I think that is everything against what Green Bay stands for. But I love the randomness that the Electoral College has benefited Green Bay in that regard. But part of it is the fact that we are a free thinking community. More on average, at least, we're above average. In free thinking, we don't have so many, like, it's not so partisan. And if we were partisan, then the candidates wouldn't bother coming out.
Another big advantage would be if everything was popular vote based. Those bleeding heart liberals in red states and those diehard conservatives in blue states, their votes actually matter.
Yeah. So they do matter.
Do they?
They do.
Do they?
Well, their votes matter on a local level, right?
Of course, on a local level, but
so when you think about California is like 6 states in one, right?
Yeah.
So like there are Republican states within the Democratic state, right?
Yes.
So
we always talk about how, California is so liberal and whatnot, but like Northern California is probably the most conservative place in the United States.
And even like there's some counties like not that far out of LA that are super Republican, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's, and also, you got a lot of bubbles of rich people neighborhoods that
some of
tend
those
to be
Republican. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all over the country. There's little bubbles and pockets, right? So in certain local races and certain municipalities, like you got to vote. People have to vote. So I don't think like they feel like their vote doesn't count. Honestly, I don't feel like people in California are saying, "Oh, my vote, I don't feel represented by the federal government."
Okay, but let's think about
that.
this.
I don't buy.
There are at least 10, 15 states that no matter what happens will go blue or go red. Certain southern states will literally never go blue. Certain states with big city populations and whatnot will never, ever go red.
Okay.
Right? That incentivizes candidates to not even go to them because it's a safe win.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't their votes be represented? I mean, we talk about this with the idea of being a purple state.
So things change over time, but there are like temporary safe zones.
Yes.
No doubt, right? And and I get that. But at least there's the opportunity that they can change over time. Otherwise, like if it's just by popular vote, the media centers of the country are pretty set. It's L.A., New York, and then maybe to a lesser extent, you could say Washington has gotten picked up now.
Don't forget Atlanta.
Maybe Atlanta.
Atlanta's
CNN.
CNN.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what, the fourth or Plus, you know, you got Texas is like 60,000 giant cities that they've got now.
But there's not much
Austin,
media
Houston,
there.
Dallas.
So I'm just saying, like, if you're but a lot of candidates come out of New York.
Yeah.
A fair number of candidates come out of California. So I mean, and Washington, of course, is important because it's it's DC, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of candidates come out of DC. So I'm just like, if you're running for president, we say like they have to come to Wisconsin, they have to campaign here, right? And like we make a big deal out of that, and I think it was a contributing factor to Hillary Clinton not winning, right? Wasn't the only thing. Believe me, I listened to her book. And she whines about the whole thing. There wasn't one thing. No, you screwed up a whole bunch of things, lady. We all get it, right?
She ran probably. I mean, besides not counting political, affiliation and beliefs and anything, she ran a terrible campaign.
There were several things she messed up, but a huge one was you didn't hop on a plane and show up in Green Bay.
No, she sent Biden.
Right. Well, and her daughter.
And her
daughter's the one that came to Green Bay.
Wow, wow, I'm so amazed.
Yeah. And whatever. I mean, you only have so much time. Like
she didn't even send Tim Kaine.
I know. Yeah.
We'd have loved to sit there and have a harmonica concert.
So, I think if we would go to a strict popular vote, I don't think that is going to have the intention that people think it would. A strict popular vote, for one thing, I think there's a strong possibility that we would end up with more people like Trump than not. I think Trump is the tip of the iceberg.
You mean like people who are known more because their name's been around forever?
Yeah. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like by diffusing the populism a little bit, I think that is a good thing. It gives us just like a half degree of separation. In addition to making our states more important, which is important. Like I make this analogy all the time. The United States of America is supposed to be like the EU. There is a president of the EU. Nobody can name this guy. There is a president of the EU. I looked him up. I can never remember his name because it doesn't matter.
I've seen him.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. We know is it Theresa May of
Yes,
the UK?
Theresa
Like we
May
can
of the
name
UK.
some of these
Angela
world leaders,
Merkel.
right? Yep. So we can name some of these people in the
Vladimir
in
Putin.
the EU that are country leaders, right? But there's a president of the EU. Nobody can name the guy.
That's about as far as I could get, though.
Right. But if we should all be, we should be able to name the governor of New York, which a lot of people can, the governor of California, which a lot of people can, and those should matter.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I wonder how many people still think that's the case.
A lot.
In California.
Probably less than the national average, but
still a lot.
I kind of wished he'd be governor again, not for political reasons or anything.
Because it's
but
fun.
It's really funny. And the jokes write themselves.
So I don't know. So I guess where I'm coming from is, I always think like change the Constitution at your peril. There's some things like, the racist compromises like 2/5 of a person and like, okay. Or you got to be a landowner to vote. Some of those things are nonsense, right? I get that. But some of these things I think have served us well and have served the country well, even though we've grown and diversified. I feel like that we're actually a bigger and more diverse country than we even were back then. So it's almost more important than it was. So I don't know. I really worry about having. I don't know. I do worry about ending up with like a Ariana Grande as president or something. Like
I don't see that happening, but I do think. I think this discussion we're having here is, besides the intellectual discussion of it, is kind of pointless because there's no way this is actually happening.
Well,
right.
It'll
at least
it could kind of de facto happen by, right? Maybe not. With the electoral votes echoing the popular vote, right? So if enough states follow that, then it will just happen.
Right. Well, it comes down to a state-by-state basis.
Yeah. But I mean, if
I don't see
if half of the states follow it and it's the right half, game over, right?
Right. I don't see a constitutional amendment happening or anything. It's not in the cards.
No. Well, but if enough states do this, then a constitutional amendment could just be an easy flip, right? So,
But I mean,
I don't think we're as far away from that as you think.
I think it's I don't think it's going to happen, honestly. I think we're going to have 5 to 10 states switch over.
Yeah.
And it'll be just a little point of trivia like, oh, some states have primaries, some have caucuses.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if we think it's going to be states that don't matter anyway, then it's just academic. I think it'll be funny if it ever ends up to bite them. Like, because right now, like California, if they go blue and the election goes red, they can be like, well, we're California and you know where we stand. But then, well, nope, you have to reflect the popular vote, and it somehow flips the other way.
Well, I see that as a good thing. Makes both sides have to try harder.
But you know what I mean? Like it could end up to bite somebody, and maybe.
And
not
you know what?
California,
If it does bite the Democrats, and the Democrats are the one pushing for it, good.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, I mean, the big problem.
I mean, you have to have balls in order to make a change like that. That might hurt yourself.
The thing that it seems so like narrow-minded to me about this is this whole red state, blue state nonsense. Like, God, why do we have to be 2 parties in such a big, diverse country?
Because of the Electoral College.
That I don't buy.
Okay. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
When you have a winner-takes-all system
Right.
by state,
Right.
that just forces 2 parties. Did I get you? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it.
So it does contribute to it.
Yeah.
There's no question, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is definitely a fair criticism, and that is one of the problems. That's a fundamental problem. But Democrats aren't saying that.
No.
And that's the problem I have with it. It's like if you want to hit at the core of what the problems are, you need to attack the 2-party system, and they're not doing that.
Of course not, because they're part of it.
I know.
But if they happen to be doing something that helps third parties.
Well, and that's what they're doing,
Yeah.
So they're doing something that's helping the 2-party system. They're not doing something that's hurting the 2-party system. And so, if they were doing something that would help deconstruct the actual structural problems of the Electoral College, okay, but they're not, right? So they're just feeding in the bad parts, which is like this populist problem where we can end up with somebody even, God, I don't even know how, but somebody worse than Trump, right? Somebody less capable than Trump,
That
right?
exists.
Sure it does. Somebody less capable, right? Somebody with like 0 management experience.
Honestly, at this point, I think I'd take Joe Schmo, the heroin addict,
Maybe.
down the street.
Maybe. But, I mean, be careful what you wish for, right? But you could end up with an equally bad situation, right?
Sure.
And on their side of the aisle, so like the bigger danger is when it's your party, right? So like we can end up with an incompetent Democrat. And so then they're like, oh, God, because then it's like it's them and they have the incompetent.
It can happen to anyone.
Yeah. So, I
feel like for like the next 50 years or so,
yeah.
there's going to be that, excuse the pun, trump card
Yeah.
of playing the trump card. Where you go, oh, my opponent, they're populist, maybe they're a celebrity, Ronald Reagan style.
Right.
They're a Trump.
Yeah.
Kills their campaign.
Maybe. There are
Kind of like comparing people to Nixon.
Though, there are a lot of people that like him. They
like 35% of the population.
Yeah. And they will get out and vote.
But they'll like him no matter what.
And they will like him no matter what.
Yeah.
And the problem is,
I mean, he himself said once, I could go walk out into
wrong.
Times Square and shoot someone, and
not wrong.
And we laughed at him for that. He was dead on.
No, we laughed because we knew he was right.
Maybe.
No, I don't know.
But I don't think we realized the extent of it. There was always that backtread of, well, if he does something so bad, his followers will turn. No. He could literally go out to the UN, jump on the little podium, pull down his pants.
I know. Yeah,
and leave them a package.
There's no vulgar thing he could do that would get him out. No. There's probably no corrupt thing he could do.
No. There's literally nothing he could do.
Yeah. And the problem is, though, we've like hit this problem where I feel like the other side has higher standards. The Democrat side has higher standards, but not much higher. Like, I feel like they would stand by their person through corruption also.
You know, well,
Anthony
Weiner.
At the presidential level.
At the presidential level.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we can look at their cases with, what's his name? Anthony Weiner.
Yeah.
And what was the senator from Minnesota?
Yeah.
What's his name?
He resigned.
Yeah, what was his name?
The
one guy. The Democrat who got caught for diddling people.
Wait, what? He didn't diddle anybody.
Someone.
Huh?
Someone did. I'm trying to think of who it was.
You're talking about you're talking about Al Franken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know why I couldn't think of Al Franken. But he didn't diddle anybody.
Okay.
He just had a picture of, like, a fun picture when he was, like, out on tour, like in like Iraq or something.
I don't remember what he did or didn't do.
He didn't do anything.
But the point is, the Democrats
And they're just like, well, you're a hypocrite because you get on Republicans for this and you should resign. And he's like, all right.
Right.
He should have fought. I hate his politics, but he rolled over on that and he should not have.
Okay. Well, that's.
And I said
besides
that
the
at the
point.
time. I'm like, he shouldn't have resigned. That's nonsense.
But that does show Democrats,
And that, I mean, I don't think that that's good.
hitting one of their own.
And I think that they learned a lesson with him too. I don't think that, and it depends. They're all different, right? I'm like casting a wide net, right? But I think that I think Trump lowered the bar.
He did.
Or raised the bar. I'm not sure. The bar moved.
So I know this doesn't necessarily relate to the Electoral College, but I see 2020 being a repeat of the midterms in one way. The Democrats are going to focus on healthcare and other quality of life stuff because it's a good message for them, right? It's very easy to say, look at this person. He's letting healthcare literally kill you, right? That's like a very easy message to run with, right? And it's powerful and it's an emotional message, right? Trump's going to run with the economy.
Well, I mean, you're talking in the primaries?
No, in the actual, no matter who the...
I don't know. I mean, it's a lot can change. A lot can change.
yes,
so
yes.
as of right now, I would agree with you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Trump's going to be for economy, unless the economy tanks before that.
I would agree with you, too.
Yeah. And you know what? He showed that it worked for him.
Yeah.
2018, the midterms were bad for him, but not nearly as bad as they could have been.
Yeah.
Because they pushed economy.
Right. Yeah. And if anything, I guess I'd like to, I'm sure other people smarter than me have studied this, but I bet the places where they didn't do as well is where they didn't push economy enough or where there were some other issues. You know, there could, like so a lot of the, like all the other elections, there are local things that come into play too. So, we, you know, like while we look at Congress as this like national thing or a blue wave.
It's really interesting looking
They're
at
all
the
local,
differences between 2016 and 2020. Because 2016, the Republicans had buzz. There were tons of interesting candidates. Whether they're good or not is, you know, one thing. But there are a ton of interesting candidates, and there are a ton of big stars of the Republican Party.
And very different.
Whereas the Democrats, you had Bernie Sanders, who was literally nobody beforehand. He was a great senator, you know, but
he was a senator.
He was not someone that people would think of.
Yeah.
You had Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Who is Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And what's his name? O'Malley?
Yes. Good job. It wasn't coming to me.
Martin O'Malley.
Yeah.
I know because that was a trivia question on something. But like the Democrats had no buzz.
Right.
Bernie Sanders was the most exciting part of that. You know, the thing that got people going, what? Right? Yeah. But the Republicans had a huge field. So like that entire season, like it's a season of a TV show.
Yeah, it
was, you know, the buzz of one person getting kicked off or, you know, it became a drama.
Right.
And that's totally going to happen for the Democrats now.
So you think all the buzz will be behind the Democrats?
I think that's a good thing for the party who has it. Whereas, like, that's different because 2012 was kind of neither of those things.
Do you think it would be good for Trump if he had a Republican challenger?
No.
So he loses either way.
Yes. 2012, you didn't really have that, to my knowledge. You know, Romney was a safe bet.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a hard fight for him to get the nomination.
Right.
2008, both sides were hard fights.
You're right.
You know, the Republicans had lots of drama with who would be their candidate, and ended up being McCain. And I mean, we literally have documentaries on how crazy 2008 was for the Democrats. Now we're at this point where I feel like that's going to flip-flop every election. One party gets all the buzz.
Yeah. But boy, it really, I mean, it ultimately boils down to who the end is.
It's weird with how media focused and internet focused we are now.
Yeah.
I feel the fundamental rule of politics has officially changed starting now. Being an incumbent is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Well, it should be.
It should be,
That's a fundamentally American point of view.
But for the past 200 years, it was always, oh, the incumbent's going to win. You know, unless they do something particularly egregious.
Yeah.
You know, unless they have, you know, unless they're Jimmy Carter.
Right.
The the incumbent is going to win.
Right.
And I feel like all bets are off now. Like Obama did it.
Right.
But Romney arguably was a little bit weak of a candidate.
Yeah. He ran his campaign pretty much like Hillary Clinton ran her campaign. Like,
exactly.
Just weak sauce.
Yeah, it was a filler election for them.
Kind of.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, and then...
Puts me to sleep just thinking about it.
I mean, if you really think about it, in 2016, Hillary Clinton essentially was the incumbent.
Yes. Right. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
That's why it was sort of sleepy. Yeah.
And now 2020, Trump's I feel like being the incumbent's a bad thing now.
Yeah.
It's an actual disadvantage.
What if it ends up being Biden-Trump, which seems very likely?
First of all, I see absolutely no way that Joe Biden receives the nomination.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I stand by that. It's going to be Beto.
Okay. I mean, that's.
I think. You want my prediction right now?
I mean, it's wide open. Right?
I'm going to throw out some crazy predictions. Ready? It's going to be a Beto O'Rourke with Kamala Harris as his vice president.
Why not the other way around? She has as much firepower behind her back.
He's raising so much money. Do you know how much money he's raising?
Yeah.
He's got the money.
Yeah. I guess that matters.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then on the Republican side, hear me out. I think there's a slight chance that Donald Trump chooses a new VP.
Yeah. I think
he does not like Mike.
I think there's a strong chance he should.
He does,
because
regardless of what the party wants.
Because your point, I think that would add some interest.
Yeah. He's a reality show guy.
Right.
He wants the twist.
Right.
I think he's going to choose a new vice president.
Yeah.
Who it will be?
Bernie Sanders.
Ivanka Trump.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. But
I don't either.
I also feel like because Mike Pence was chosen to be, the rock, the one who gets the religious, the ones who are kind of scared. But we've seen they're not scared of Trump. They will lead, follow him to death's door. The same people who, say
what if he announces legalizing marijuana right before the election? Like some drastic, what if he does some executive order to, he pushes the envelope as hard as he can.
It won't help. That. In fact, it'll probably make some of his base angry. Yeah, not angry enough to not, vote against him, but angry enough to stay home.
How would that hurt him?
The Christians.
You really think they would stay home?
Yes.
For the most important election of their lives?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
misplaced morality.
It's all
hell of a drug, man.
Right? It's so nuts. So, all right. So we got a little off the rails. Electoral college. Do you think it really matters?
Yeah.
Do you think it really though?
I mean, what? 3 of the past 5 elections, or no? Of the how many?
It basically comes down to a coin flip. The last half dozen, anyway.
Al Gore should have won. All I'm saying.
So Al Gore had a slight lead. Yep. I mean, and so that was a weird one because it went to the Supreme Court. But that's that's the game, right? They had the majority in the Supreme Court, and that's the game.
Yeah,
that's why the thing.
That's one of those. That's one. I know we're even way more off topic now.
I don't know. I mean, I think all these things feed into each other. That's why it's so complex.
I think the Supreme Court making that decision and clearly going partisan is one of those moments that will stick in our mind as where America failed, or where clearly morality went out the window. The other one, another great one being Gerald Ford pardoning Nixon. You know, it's like the moments, like the wall of shame for America, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we leave it there. Wall of shame of America.
Yeah. Donald Trump's face will be the first picture.
Do we build? Is it like a Mount Rushmore style wall that we put up on the border of Mexico, or do we put it on the Canadian border?
No. We put it on Mar-a-Lago.
All right, you do the closing.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this, nice. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, leave us a comment and hit the bell. If you're listening in Elliot's,
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh.
I would like us to. I would like feedback actually from anybody who is watching. Like if it would be helpful for us to throw facts or figures or graphs or anything in on this stuff, because like I don't know, like is anybody looking for information on these, or are they looking for opinions and want to just join in the banter?
Yeah, and if you're listening to this on iTunes or whatever, that's what Apple still uses, right? iTunes.
Well, Apple Podcasts. There's an Apple Podcast app. You can get it added through iTunes on a Mac or Windows.
Or if you're on SoundCloud or Stitcher or any of all those things, or even our own website, whatever it is. Do you know what our website is?
Yeah, if you go to blindpartisan.com.
Whoa.
Yeah. I should make sure that works.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that's where I tell people to go. Blindpartisan.com. Yep.
Yeah.
There it is. You can just hit the play buttons.
Yeah, look at that.
You need to get a better picture of me there, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's impossible.
That's really super weird. Oh, is that the Facebook Live? Because I'm like, that's me right now.
Oh.
It's super creepy.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off the rails.
Just be nice to us. We work hard for you. And
Oh, you know what? You didn't mention the Patreon either.
Oh yeah, our Patreon's awesome. It allows us to, buy things to make our setup better, and pay for Elliot.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. All right. See you later.